Hey guys, welcome to the Solution Architect channel. Yes, so this is me. I just shaved my beard. I'm traveling this week. I want to be clean, and maybe I'm gonna have to put on something for the flight. It's only between Ireland and America. It should be fine. Um, Apologies for being late with this videos. I'm going to start doing more videos when I come back, but I am also, like I said, traveling again, and just simply just don't get the time for my hobby, which is this channel. This video, we will quickly go into deploying a Linux container through the Azure DevOps platform to the Azure Portal as an app service, and then start that instance from the DevOps pipeline. So let's jump into this. So in Visual Studio Code, just go delete your current Docker. If you still have the same, just delete the Docker ignore file and the Docker file. And we want to make sure that we don't deploy the Windows Docker container. We want to deploy a Linux container. Now to test it locally, what you have to do is your Docker hub. Let's just go to Docker. My Docker hasn't been started, so start up your Docker for Windows, your Docker desktop, and then you have to switch. If you have the Windows containers on, you have to switch to Linux containers on your Docker hub to be able to build it locally. You don't have to build it locally, but if you want to test it, it's not going to work on the Windows desktop. So, but you just want to build it and push it. Then you can do that. So I'm going to just start my Docker up, otherwise I will not be able to build it locally, just to make sure that your build works fine. Now while that is starting up, press Control Shift and P, and we want to add the Docker files first. Just go to Docker, add Docker files to workspace, and it's an ASP.NET core application. And now the difference is we want to select Linux and not Windows. And 8040, I'm going to change this back to 5000. Override your existing. So this will add your Docker ignore file. So going to our Docker file, now I've changed 3.1 to latest, just the same, exactly the same as my last for the .NET implementation. So just use the latest version that's available on the Azure DevOps platform when you build this. And also remember to change to add this. If you don't do this, then your final image in a container will not run. So it's an environment setting, env, ASP.NET Core URLs, HTTP, and /, and just copy this. Make sure that you have this able before you check in your code, and then you can build your image just to test it. So Control Shift P and build image, and I'll probably speed up this video to show you that it builds successfully. Okay, so you'll see a security warning. You're building a Docker image from Windows against a non-Windows Docker host. All files and directories are added to the permission, all of that. So you won't be able to run it off a operating system from Windows. So what we want to do is check this into our Azure repos. And how do we do that? Is we go to source control, new Docker files. Okay, and then click on the button here and push. Remember, you have to have your repos information already pushed from here and added to your project, so that you have your project connected to your Visual Studio Code. And I showed you guys in the previous video how to do that. Okay, let's go to our Azure Portal, DevOps Portal, and just check your repos and your Docker file, and ensure you've got the latest version in here. it needs to have this environment variable in here, otherwise you will have some problems deploying. Okay, just remember this. Our basic runtime looks like this. I just want to show you again. We've got restore, build, test, just to make sure you have your testing and all of that included. But what we want to achieve is deploy to a Azure registry. So we need to go to our Azure Portal and Container Registries, add a new registry. We call this one, it's going to be our Linux Container Registry. And select your group. Mine is the resource group. I don't know why I've got so much. Northern Europe. You can enable admin. You need to enable admin to have a username and password to be able to connect to this, and select the basic SKU. Otherwise, you're going to pay a little bit for that. And I'll delete this registry before I submit this video because I can't keep this stuff open. It's going to cost me money. So when that's done, it's busy running here. You go to your resource, go back to access keys, and you copy your registry name, login server, your admin details, your admin user, and admin password. Copy and paste that into a notepad, and we'll use that in our release pipeline. Okay, so when you select your artifact here, we don't want to select the DLL, we want to select the repos. So this is Azure repos, and you want to select from your source code because that is where your Docker file is. Make sure you've got your master set up, the latest version, all of that, and then click add. Click on one job task here, and what we want to make sure this is our Ubuntu 16.04 agent that we're going to use. And click on plus, and then we select build process. We're going to build and push. So Docker, you select Docker. Our container registry is, it should be more than one. I'm not using Docker up for now. I will use Docker up in my follow-up. So let me just manage my container registry, see why I can't see it here. I think I need to authorize it again. Just gonna pause and do that quickly. Okay, so apparently it doesn't see the registry immediately if you create a new registry. So what you have to do is click on new there next to container registry, and then it comes up. You can select Docker up, others, or Azure Container Registry. We want to use Azure Container Registry for this. We just created this registry for Linux, and then that will come up there. It will pop up for your email address and password. I went through that, and then you give it a service connection. This will be my Linux Azure ACR connection. You can call this just what you want, and grant permission, say save. And the Linux Azure connection is in there. And this is the repository for your API, and we can call it weather Linux repository. It just needs a name. Can I spell Linux repository? What's wrong with me today? It's Sunday. And what this part of the pipeline will do, it will push and publish that to the Azure registry that we just created. And I'm going to save this. Okay. And let's click create release, staging, and create. And then it will start the release for you. And let's click on deploy, make sure it deploys. If you have the trigger set up, that will do everything automatically for you. And I will end up, my last video will be a totally autonomous DevOps deployment pipeline from check-in code and until it's deployed to a staging environment. And I will change that part of the video. So just make sure that everything works fine and push this to the Azure Portal. So this is what it's doing now. I'll probably try and speed this up because it needs to go to 22. Okay, so we have a successful build and push. And quickly, let's go to our Azure Portal, and let's go to our registry. And under repositories, you'll be able now to see, if everything went fine, the Weather Linux repository. And we have our tags in there, and Docker pull, and there is that information that you need. So from here onwards, so we'll have to copy this, put it in Notepad somewhere. We're going to use it shortly. Okay, before we start our container instance, I'm going to show you something, just a trick that I picked up. Go back to the job here and your build and push. In the tags here, I changed this to latest just to test it. There was build.build ID. So every time it builds, it overwrites the ID. Now to create an instance from that, you need to have the ID. So I think I made a mistake in my previous video, but what you can do is you can put a version in here, say 1.1, and then make sure that that is the instance that you're going to deploy. But I'm just going to do it latest. Just make it easy. So this will add the tag at the back of this. So every time you pull it, it will just deploy to the latest. So it will override that one into your Azure Container Registry. So just change that. Make sure you save it. And then go back to your pipeline. And we want to add a new job here. And it's just going to be an empty job. Let's call it create start instance. And then start instance. What is wrong with me today? And then click on one job. And then ensure that you select Ubuntu, your agent. Click on plus, add a new task, and we select Azure CLI command line. Go to Azure CLI, your subscription. You can put this in a script file if you want, and I'm just going to do inline script. Okay, so now let me show you the script again. This is the same script more or less as the Windows one. Only change is operating system Linux. Your resource group, your name can be anything. I call it my Linux Container API. So this is the one that you will see on Azure Portal as soon as it's deployed. Because we added the tag, we've got the latest in there. Otherwise you have to put in the build ID, and that's probably not the best way of doing it. Then you need to have IP address public. If you don't do this, you will not be able to do anything with this. You have to port 5000, OS is Linux, 1.5 meg, your login server, username, password. This is not the best way of doing it. You probably have to use OAuth, and I will go into a separate video on doing security, and then we'll secure our pipeline a little bit better. This is not the best way of securing your pipeline. So let's just make a line in everything is in one line. Copy this over here. Okay, and save and create a release. And like you don't have to create select stage 1, but even if you select the create start instance and create, you'll see that it will still run through queue, and once this queue is done, so this will start running, and this build process and push process of the container usually takes about a minute or two. And once that's done, you can queue this already, click deploy, and that will queue. And as soon as that is complete, because this is dependent on that one to complete, which is a good thing because that's what you want. You want to make sure your Docker image is in the Docker registry, and I will come back when this is done. Okay, so we have a successful build here. I had a few releases. I'm going to be totally honest. My spelling inside that inline script, just check every single detail. My spelling was atrocious. I don't know why this happened today. Anyway, go back to Azure Portal. So after this is successfully ran your inline script, and then we go refresh. Well, okay, not like that, but then you should have a container instance. Now let's check our My Linux Container API. And you see it's probably while it was deploying, there was some activity on the memory there. Click on the IP address, open a new browser and make it 5000. That is our port and weather forecast. I am terrible in spelling today. And there you have your API returning that from a Linux operating system container inside Azure DevOps. Thank you very much for watching, and please subscribe, please share, and there is a lot more videos coming. I'm just so swamped in work at the moment that I'm not getting to my hobby, which is this channel. So apologies for that. And there's still going to be a winner at the end of the series for this cap. So if you want it for free, just keep on watching and keep on liking and sharing. And at the end, I will have a quick competition, and the first one answering all the questions correct will get this. I might stream even live. Let me know in the comments below if you want me to do a live stream for selecting the person that won the competition. Thank you very much. See you next time.